Welcome back to Small Cap Voice. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into KULR Technology, an innovative company on the forefront of battery safety management and testing. I had to say that for the new subscribers, but the fact of the matter is we've been covering KULR for about 4 years now. So if you need a lot of due diligence, just go back and watch some of our previous videos. My favorite one appears at the end of this video, so stay tuned. But today I want to talk about something a little bit different. See, normally I'm talking about the products or the recent news, but today I want to talk about the back-end stuff that you may not be seeing if you're only following the KULR press wire. So we'll explore the recent stock performance, institutional investments by BlackRock, and more, and of course, talk about that current short interest. But before I do, I want to give a quick shout out to our affiliate partner OPUS Clips. If you've ever wondered how we're able to get some of those shorts and TikToks out the same day that news is dropping, we use OPUS Clips. OPUS Clips is an AI tool that goes through every single video that I give it and finds the most viral moments, scores everything for me, so that way it's easy for me to churn out the content that we need to get out at the pace that we do. So if you want to try OPUS Clips, it'll completely change your content creation. Check the link in the description. Try it for yourself. It was a complete game changer for us here. Okay, and sponsored ad over. Thanks for hanging on for that. We're growing, and that's just part of the business. Let's talk KULR. First, we got to talk about the trajectory of the stock, because they did go up 1,600% within this past year. And that's nothing to scoff about either. Over this past year, they've had substantial fluctuations, and notably it reached a closing high of $4.80 on December 26, 2024. Little Christmas present for everybody. And during that time, it had a 52-week high of $5.49. However, as of today, February 28th, when I'm filming this video, the stock price is currently sitting at $1.34, reflecting a substantial decrease from its peak. Now, we could speculate on price fluctuations and why, but to quote McConaughey,
number one rule of Wall Street: nobody, I don't care if you're Warren Buffett or if you're Jimmy Buffett, nobody knows if the stock is going to go up, down, sideways, or in fucking circles.
What we can talk about is the massive volatility that the stock has been under over these past few months. It's like you announce a Bitcoin play and everybody and their mother jumps on it. Here's my take though. Volatility isn't always a bad thing. Downward pressure on any chart hits harder than Mike Tyson, but stick with me. More eyes means more buying or selling pressure. Sure, it seems like the bears have the market for now and they got their claws sunk in, but we're still far ahead of where we were this past November, December. In fact, in the last quarter, KULR Technology saw a remarkable surge of 254.92%. Now, this price movement can be attributed to several moves that the company has been making, some of which you've probably seen. Those would be things like the new partnerships, the Bitcoin play, new product service launches. But let's be real here, we'd be kidding ourselves if we could believe that a chart can go up 1,600% in 1 year without some pullback. That volatility caught some eyes though, institutional eyes specifically. See, institutional investors play a more critical role in a company's future than a lot of people realize. It adds the sense of credibility and confidence in a company's direction. And as of the latest reports, KULR's institutional ownership is 21.23%, with a significant increase of 116% in institutional transactions recently. That surge suggests that major players, BlackRock and Vanguard, are recognizing KULR's potential and upping their stakes accordingly. See, prominent institutions like Vanguard and BlackRock have reported substantial positions in KULR Technology Group. Vanguard holds approximately 8.25 million shares, representing 8.73% of the company's outstanding shares in total, while BlackRock holds 3.87 million shares, accounting for 1.8% of the outstanding. Their involvement not only brings capital to the table, but also adds credibility, potentially getting KULR Technology in front of more retail investor eyes too. The key though is the increase in the ownership that we're seeing. BlackRock increased their position by over 430%, which is pretty sizable when you think about it. See, institutions, and I say this with zero disrespect intended to our viewers, are able to make their investment decisions with a lot less emotional factors contributing to them. When you're a broker trading with house money, you're willing to take more risk for a larger reward. When you're an independent retail trader, you have other things on the mind, bills, kids, that type of stuff. So the more float that can get absorbed by an institution is generally better from everyone. Historically speaking, of course, I have to be careful about how I'm phrasing that. But with the big bulls often come the big bears, and we'd be doing you all a disservice if we didn't talk about KULR Technology's short interest. Now, I often assume that our viewers know what I'm talking about and some of the phrases and terms that I'm using, but I was reminded the other day that that's not always the case. So if you're ever confused about something we're talking about here, head into the comments and let us know what your question is. We'll try to answer what we can. But on social media the other day, I was asked what it means to short a stock. So quickly, shorting a stock is when somebody borrows somebody else's held shares. Then they sell that share into the market at a much, much lower price. They do have the intention of repurchasing it later at that price, assuming that the stock has dropped down that point. And the rest in that middle is pure profit that the short trader generates. Now, I've dabbled in options trading before, and it's a pretty serious animal to get involved with, but admittedly, there's a lot of money to be made in shorting stocks. It's why people do it. It just can be a little confusing at times. So in layman's terms, shorters make their profit from the stock market when a stock goes down. They're actually hedging a pretty large bet that it'll do so. And sometimes that pans out to be a really good decision, and other times it turns out to be a very, very bad decision. I could go into AMC and GameStop, but you've probably heard those stories or seen the movie by this point. With enough upward pressure, shorters tend to panic sell, which causes a phenomenon we fondly call a short squeeze, in which the bears go back into hibernation and the bulls eat their lunch, their dinner, and often their breakfast too. All right, so explanation over, let's get back on track with KULR. So KULR short interest, and short interest is a metric that indicates the number of shares that people are betting will decline in value, as of February 14th, 2025, is at 19.59 million, representing 9.58% of the float. Now that's a 6.99% increase from when these numbers were last reported in January. But back then, KULR saw a 26% increase to their short interest as of January 31st, 2025. So while it does seem to be slowing a little bit, among investors that the price is going to continue to decrease. But if we're talking short interest, we also have to talk about days to cover ratio. To put that simply, it's the measurement of how many days it would take for a short seller to sell their shares in a liquid market, based on the average trading volume of the stock. Now that still stands at 0.5 days.
Hey, so I had to pause it for just 1 second because some of the information in this is already outdated. Double pause. So what I'm about ready to explain is just completely a waste of time at this point. What I'm trying to get at is that this stock is incredibly volatile, and KULR Technology's short interest has been rising on average over the past couple of months. Trying to give you guys exact numbers is why I keep having to delay this video, and I'm tired of delaying it. I just wanted to get it out, and I wanted to kind of explain this phenomenon that's starting to happen on KULR stock. During this next segment, I put up some other numbers. I show what's going on the Fintel reports, etc. If you want a really accurate understanding of short interest and how the short market affects a small cap like this, go to fintel.io. I'm putting the link up on the screen. You can type KULR, KULR Technology, up into the search bar, and you can see these numbers on a day-by-day basis. There's even a premium subscription that you can look into to see more insightful data. No, we're not sponsored by Fintel. This is just the source that I am using to look at short interest and institutional ownership. It's a great tool for traders, in my personal opinion. But it's futile to show you guys numbers in a video because if it takes me several hours to edit a piece and I don't get to it or something along those lines, this piece is going to continuously get delayed because I don't want to have to issue a retraction. We try to give you guys the most accurate reporting here at Small Cap Voice, and this is part of that. So I'm going to just hit the fast forward button. A little bit more. A little bit more. Almost done. Man, my wife is right. I do talk a lot. And continue.
So I got through all of that just to say this, and for legal purposes, I have to say it this way. Historically, when short interest is rising on a very volatile stock with a lot of volume moving, and that company has consistent, steady news flow, that ratio gets higher, shorts get more nervous, and even sell their short contracts. That's what tends to happen in these types of situations. I can't talk about this one specifically. I'm not a broker dealer. I'm just a marketing guy who knows how to make a pretty good video. So let me rephrase that above. While an increase in short interest can signal skepticism about a company's prospects, it can also set the stage for a short squeeze. I mentioned that term earlier above, but a short squeeze happens when a heavily shorted stock's price continues to rise, forcing short sellers to buy more shares to cover those positions, which often drastically increases the price. And KULR's been making headlines left and right this past year, and just recently too. Recently, we saw the company announced a multi-million-dollar licensing agreement for advanced carbon fiber cathodes for applications in nuclear reactors in Japan. That move positions KULR in the very emerging nuclear sector in Asia. Additionally, we recently saw KULR Technology sign a partnership deal with EDOM, a Taiwanese supply chain management that has their hands heavily involved in the computing sector. Now, I've mentioned in other content that we've recently filmed on Small Cap Voice, getting involved into a supply chain organization is not anything to scoff at. It usually means consistent, steady sales from that supply chain are soon to follow. And in probably the boldest move since December, we've seen KULR Technology scoop up 610 Bitcoins, and the last report was 167% yield. And that new push into cryptocurrency has unlocked doors connecting Michael Moe to Michael Saylor and positioning KULR for the new changes that the Trump administration is bringing. So let's tackle the top criticism that I see on social media regarding KULR Technology. Where are the sales? Okay, first of all, KULR has 4 divisions: battery safety, battery design, battery testing, and KULR Vibe. Do you notice something about that list? Most of those are services, not products. So yes, KULR Technology got their start selling products. It's what they themselves refer to as the legacy products, and that word should tell you something. Those products built KULR's legacy in the space, not necessarily their future. Like, yeah, you can buy one of their safe cases or order some of their cathodes, no problem, right? Like, once Doge is finishing gutting the budget, the DoD sector is going to be lining up in droves to reorder more, you know, to keep our troops safe. But really, KULR has evolved into more of a company than that. They're more of a services company now. Like, let's go down the list. KULR One is mostly service-based, not products. Meaning that battery pack that you saw me holding at CES gets integrated into another system's design. It's not necessarily an off-the-shelf product. KULR helps design and test these systems for customers. And don't get me started on Vibe. The amount of people who say that KULR Vibe is a product-based technology and not a service is pretty ridiculous. I can't give too many details, but I've seen it in action. Twice. KULR was working on site fixing a helicopter, and during our video shoot, one of the KULR reps got a phone call. I cannot give specifics, but just over the phone, the KULR rep punched data into their laptop, churned out the solution, and recited it back over the phone to the customer. They hung up, walked back with a smile on their face, and proudly informed me that they just helped another customer and closed another deal for KULR. That is KULR Vibe. In fact, the project that they were there working on, the helicopter, was a decommissioned Black Hawk that was scheduled to need 7 to 8 days of maintenance to work. KULR had it airborne in 6 hours. It's service-based, and for all of the people shouting, "Where are the sales?" they either haven't been paying attention to the changes in recent years, or they simply do not understand how KULR's technology works. So in summary, KULR Technology is navigating a very unique landscape that's very volatile. We're seeing strategic investments from Vanguard and BlackRock on the rise, additional partnerships being signed on a monthly, if not weekly basis, and a notably rising short interest and downward pressure from those short sellers. So when you look at the KULR Technology stock chart, Remember all of these factors as you look at the sentiment of some of the investors. These factors contribute to a very complex, volatile situation for the company, but remember, volatility isn't always bad. In fact, volatility can be a good thing. So as always, it's important for you to be conducting your own research, doing your own diligence, and making your own investment decisions. But if you do have some questions for KULR Technology, go ahead and let me know here in the comments. If we at Small Cap Voice can't answer them directly, I'm pretty sure we're trying to get another interview with somebody from the company who's new we haven't had on the show yet, and so we'll be able to ask them in the very near future. Don't forget to hit the like button if you like this type of content, and hit the subscribe button if you want more content like this about small and micro cap companies and all of the moves that they're making. This is Kevin Gray for Small Cap Voice. See you next time.